In month one, while the game was completely different, we still wanted to lean into horror. So as the game changed, we decided to stick with horror throughout. And then during month two, we came up with the insanity system, hiding in lockers, and cloaking. Those three mechanics gave us a concrete vision to follow after having to delete the entire project due to build issues. From there, it was just a matter of improving the concepts, building levels, and encounters around them. We had also completely cut the shooting element out of our game and went full non combative horror due to the choice to make hiding, finding keys, and escaping the main goals. And I think cutting a lot of content helped us get on track to a shared goal because in month three, the insanity system and the sound system were heavily added to, which gave us even more scenarios for the player to encounter and a lot more feedback that the game had been previously lacking. And then much later in month four, we started working with post-processing volumes to really build the atmosphere, and the game was finally starting to come together visually. And while the game kept changing, we stuck to our vision of creating a horror game, and I think our determination to make a horror game was the best thing that worked out. I'm now going to pass the microphone to Jeremiah Hicks.
In month one, there was an issue where we had to fully build the game over again because of a bug that wouldn't let the game start up properly when loading up from Perforce. Initially, there was a quest system added from month two, but was later scrapped out of the project because it was no longer needed. It was no use for the playable character to have one. There was also an NPC that you could walk up to and accept or decline a quest that was aligned with the quest system. We decided to get rid of this to make the game more of a mystery horror based and making the player figure things out while traversing through the level. There was also a puzzle creation in the first couple months where the player used platforms to gain access to a door. The platform puzzle was scraped from the project and instead a keypad was made to represent the puzzle. This is the information that I have gathered while working on Twisted Reality for 4 months. I'm going to pass it off to Mark now.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Now for the list of skills that I've learned or I found most useful, I can say that before this project, I really underestimated my skills in blueprint coding in Unreal Engine 5. At first, I knew what I knew, but this project really made me focus on what I wanted to do and accomplish. Here's all the new skills that helped me the most. I've learned to be more comfortable working with UI and UX, which led me to expand my knowledge on widgets and their broad functions. The creation of a system which controls the outcome of the game. With the creation of the Insanity system, the team and I had a way to change the feel of the level and of the overall gameplay. While making the system of Sanity, I learned how to properly create event dispatchers to call out events for the system. Regarding widgets, I also learned how to use widget animations. This final stage of development helped me work with making an environment and picking the right tools and assets to complete it. Finally, I can add that this project helped me develop my team working skills and team management skills. Thank you. I'll pass it on to Bob Stewart.
The game ended up being a stealth horror game. The player moves from room to room looking for keys to progress forward while avoiding the things that wait in the dark. In month one, the game was more of a traditional first-person shooter with aspirations of having RPG elements. During month two, each of the designers had to make 2 mechanics. From these experiments, we got the grappling hook, the concept of insanity, and the cloaking spell. They were fun and interesting mechanics, however, the one mechanic no one was having fun with was shooting. So, moving into month 3, we dropped shooting altogether, and then the entire game came into focus. We made lockers that the player could hide in, we created clues to the passcodes that opened safes containing keys needed to progress. In month 4, we focused on adding the spooky elements to really live up to the concept of horror. Now I will pass off the mic to Damian Barry.
The game plays a little similar to Outlast. There is no combat, so it's pretty much a run and hide type of game. One of the systems is the insanity meter. The player must manage the meter throughout their playthrough. The higher it goes, the worse things get for the player. They will start to hear voices, hallucinate, and eventually die if the pills aren't taken before it fills. The grappling hook is one of the main mechanics. It is used to get out of pitfalls or to get to hard-to-reach areas. The enemies will chase the player to their last known location, so they must get out of their line of sight. The invisibility cloak will make the player unseen to the enemies for a short amount of time. The lockers scattered throughout the game can be used to hide from them as well. There were some other mechanics that were scrapped since we changed the vision of the game. Those mechanics were a force push to push enemies out of the way, and a dash that can be used to dodge enemies, projectiles, and reposition yourself in midair. Now the game plays as a run and hide, find keys, and proceed to the next level. And I will be passing the mic off to Markel.
At the start of Capstone, our game was initially set to be a first-person shooter with RPG and horror aspects. However, after encountering a bug that made the game unplayable at times, we completely restarted after the first month and dropped a number of things we had planned. These things included a mana system, a health system, level progression, weapon system, and much more. By the time we finished the second month, we changed our game to be a full stealth horror game. We got rid of anything combat related and made it where the player's only option is to run and hide, putting their fight or flight mode to the test. We give the player a flashlight and a grappling hook, along with the ability to cloak and lockers to hide in. At first, objectives for the player included having to defeat a big boss at the end of a level, but now the player must solve puzzles and find keys to gain access to different rooms in order to progress, while having to avoid any threats lurking in the dark hallways and keeping their sanity in check. Thank you for listening, and this has been Average Joe Studios.